Yes, so Abby, give us a quick intro, shall we?
So Koen also part of an alum. So I have two alum members here with me from different schools. So it's a pleasure to have Koen with his fantastic idea. And why I talk about alums is because his startup is in relation to the alumni and the alumnus which different schools have.
Yep.
From kindergarten school, probably not ready, but it's mainly a segue to LinkedIn for those who use their in-house academic platforms for connections with alums. But I leave it to the founder himself, Koen, to talk about his venture, and would love to hear Karan's thoughts on it as well.
I mean, it's clear as day that I would love something like this because all four of us, coincidentally, the Bi kids, went to international schools where kids just went off to colleges in different countries,
Yes.
lost touch. Some came back to the region, some did not. So I think important problem to solve in reconnecting and bringing back the human touch.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, I'll maybe do like 90 seconds about myself and then go into the startup idea. So yeah, my name is Koen Salomons. I grew up in Dubai. I lived here for 14 years. Moved here when I was 5. Went to in my international school here, and then I went off to the Netherlands for my bachelor's, and then went to IE Business School for my master's. And when I over the summer, I was working in the private equity industry while I was validating my idea. I made the jump into actually building out this startup. Starting in August, and as soon as I came back here, it was a completely different world because I'd always been here in high school and friends and so many people come back, but now I was coming here professionally for my career. So I reached out to a lot of alums on LinkedIn IE, and I got into conversation with Abby, and I talked about what my startup was, which is we built alumni platforms for schools around the world, and we started this around 8 months ago, and it came by because I, around a year ago, went to an alumni reunion at my international school. And when I was there, they'd gotten like all this catering, and all these teachers were there.
Mm-hmm.
But there were not that many students that showed up. There were like 40. So I went up to the director after her speech, and she owns a various number of schools. And I asked her, like, how is this possible? Because I know so many students that have gone abroad for their studies and come back to Dubai, just like the four of us here.
Yeah.
And there were so many back. And she just said, we reached out to some of the head boys and head girls, and we posted something on Facebook. That was it.
Nope.
And they just expected that to just word of mouth to take off, kind of like they were dreaming. So I was like, this is impossible, because I've already organized like mini reunions in America, in the Netherlands, as well as Madrid, from my high school around the world. So I just, out of myself, just started helping them out, kind of building a database, and they absolutely loved that. So then while I was still in my master's, I decided to go and further validate that idea. And I talked to 30 schools within 2 months, and 92% of them signed up to our pilot.
Wow.
And that basically gave me the next step of I need to go find someone to build this.
Yeah.
And that's where my co-founder comes in.
Very, very interesting journey, and I can feel the pain point as well. It's also by chance that Karan and I found out that we are from the same
We didn't
school.
know.
So we didn't know. So we can already make use of this platform. We have a use case example right over here. But I would take this opportunity for Karan to talk about this from an Antler perspective, wearing his VC hat, on what he thinks about the idea.
I think it's a great idea. I think as the world gets more globalized, we're going to start seeing more international schools pop up. As you have, and just speaking very macro here, right? You have more migrants across the world, people migrating to different countries, sending their kids to somewhat of a global standard of a school. This will just give rise to a number of students that need to be tracked across the world, because people are moving countries. I have lived in 3 countries over the last 10 years, right? Everyone's moving countries. And the schools that I went to have pretty decent alumni connection tools,
Yes.
Johns Hopkins and HR College in Mumbai. They do have a lot of engagement, but this is a very common gripe that I've heard from other universities and alums of other schools. For instance, our school, right? We don't have much going on
Yes.
in terms of alumni networking, and yeah, so there's definitely a white space there. Can it be scaled up globally? Yes, very much so. There's market precedence in such school related platform scaling. Yeah, that's my from a VC hat, definitely something that is VC able. It's all going to depend on distribution strategy, and I think that's what we were talking about a little before our session.
Yeah, we were. And I have a pretty fun story about that, because we really early on in this journey realized that the fact that me and my two co-founders, and one of them is Marcus, and he studied computer science at NTNU in Berkeley, as well as Hugues. He's always been a technical, curious guy, and he worked at Morgan Stanley before. And so the three of us came together, and we just came together in Amsterdam, and we really built this out in a matter of a week. And we were so awed by the current tools that we really realized, like, okay, there are other people in this world that can build at this speed. So we really got to find that unique edge about what separates us. So it's not just more about how good is your product, it's how good can you actually bring this to market and put this in front of users to get that feedback really quickly. So we, from day one, were already thinking about so many different ideas, like, LinkedIn outbound, email outbound, reaching out to all teachers of ours, just trying everything to just get to the decision makers within these schools. We even printed out letters. So we customized, that's the wonder of AI, we customized 140 letters, printed them out for every single principal in Dubai, put them in an envelope, put their name hand signed on the front, and we drove 4 days straight to every single school, hand delivered them at the reception, say, there's an important letter for the principal.
That's cool.
Here you go.
That's one way to get in.
Yeah, that's
And
creative.
it was insane, which is also another startup idea for anyone listening, because we got more than 40% reply rate on that.
That's good.
So just getting that first conversation, which is better than any digital channel
Yeah,
I think you could actually
absolutely.
get.
So personalized. Really
Yeah.
nice.
And that was a really cool strategy. For the rest, we've worked so much on just building different outbound automations, which gets me around 4 calls a week.
Okay.
And I just get an inbound reply, and they've kind of already had a small conversation with me. So yeah, we've really been focusing on that distribution, and we did start into a small niche. And that was also kind of the goal of ours, because we think we could get so much more done in a short period of time, especially since we're all pretty young. We did want to get some results quite quickly. But yeah, to get onto the actual alumni side of it, and what you're talking about engagement, is we analyze kind of all the existing solutions and platforms out there, and that is one of the most difficult parts. Is, alumni are just busy. How do they go onto the platform? You can't expect them to go on weekly. So that's where we offer that whole engagement side on the platform, where alumni can actually go on there and see their other alums around the world. And we try to sync it with publicly available information, professional information from that alum, so that the database is always live. And that way you provide immense value to the actual school, because they have an up-to-date database. So even they can then see, whoa, we have so many people back in Dubai, or we have a whole community in London that we didn't know about. We should organize something there. And there are already so many schools around the world that organize these kind of global events. I mean, IE does a really good job at them.
They do.
But yeah, we kind of take inspiration from that. And now with so many more automations possible, and these platforms, so much information available on the web, you can actually scale that creation of events. So we just give them the data and the tools, and they've done a lot of different cool things with it. And that's also what we're testing now. We kind of just want to give them the resource that they haven't had before, and then react based on that.
So, just to preface what I'm going to say, I really geek out over GTM, right? So here's a question to you. There's a few ways to build this business out, right? There's the student-led way, where you go how Facebook started back at Harvard, just a way like a student directory, right? You start acquiring people from different schools and just start acquiring, and this builds a new whole community. Then there's a way of actually going to the schools. Now, my question to you is, why did you choose to go down the school route, considering they don't have all the data to populate immediately? And there's one answer in my head, which is customer acquisition cost. But just would love to hear your thought process of how did you, dissect different strategies and pick the one that you did.
Yeah, I mean, first mover advantage is a big thing, where so many of these social platforms have come and they've just swept the market, and that's just become the go-to. So to really get like B2C adoption is what everyone now is trying to crack. And the number of B2C startups in the last 15 years gone exponentially. So that was a really competitive route. Like, how do you actually convince someone that there's value? And then you first need to kind of provide the value for them to come onto the platform. And there's a huge hype around it. And that becomes really difficult to actually create. And it seemed like more of an actual strategic and consistent route to go through the schools, because they just had no insight. And a lot of these schools have big budgets and the big resources, and they realized that a lot of branding to do with schools and universities has to do with where did the alumni go. So they wanted that resource, and I think there are already enough like, kind of social tools out there for the actual alums themselves. So if we build something for the school that they really want, they will be the one using it, and then they will also be the ones to actually do the outreach to get them to come on, because it's in their best interest. So that was kind of our approach there, where it was kind of a shot into the abyss if you just go the typical B2C route and try to build this platform which, everybody should be on here. Whereas with the other one, could wake up a more structured B2B approach, which is more consistent.
So there is no conflict of interest from these business schools per se, or let's say schools in general, that they already have an existing platform, and for them to migrate from what they have to something new is not a cause of concern. Perhaps you already have something in mind that it syncs both these platforms together, or it becomes an add-on to an existing platform. How have these conversations come along?
So that's actually the crazy part. There's only one school in the Middle East that has their own platform.
Oh, really?
So this is complete like blue ocean.
Yes.
After talking about this, who knows? Maybe there might be 500 other kind of alumni tech startups. But no, there's every school we approached and spoke to. We now have schools in Oman, Abu Dhabi, Dubai, Bahrain. None of them. And I'm talking about schools that are big international names, with even big educational holding groups, and they just have no real system. There has been one organization that tried to build it internally. They tried to make it work for 1-2 years, but we all kind of know how companies, when they try to innovate internally, that just goes pretty slowly. So yeah, they struggled with that as well. And we've just now kind of also been approached a whole bunch by different schools who've now heard from us. We kind of saw the first word of mouth effect coming in the last month. Because the thing is that a lot of these international schools, at universities, it makes sense to hire an alumni coordinator. But for like schools around the world, it just, some may just be big enough, but they're just in that awkward gap where they don't know if they should get one. But they do want to do things with alumni, and they want to have that database. So we are just that perfect step in between to not having to hire a full-time alumni coordinator who, and the school might not even know how to approach that or what they actually want, but now with us, they actually get that data and they can decide along the way and build that up, decide what they want to do with that as they grow.
I like the product. I mean, some of my friends are already talking about, let's do a reunion. It's like, it sounds nice, but like, who's going to organize that?
Yeah.
I'm certainly not. Like, that's a long process. But yeah, I like the product. You said it yourself a little bit. You said anyone can build something great, but not to downplay that. I think you guys are doing a great job. You then said, how do you, get that out there and get people to use it, which is, yes, the big question, especially in such a competitive marketing space, let's say. I wanted to know more about how you're marketing things, because I think there's more to this than you're actually letting on. And what you have said as well, like what kind of impressed me in terms of like, yeah, we're doing all these personalized emails, like personalized marketing is the best form of marketing, let's say. Yeah. So I think there's more behind the scenes. You've got your camera rolling over there. Tell us all about that. Like what else is going on? You're not telling us everything.
Yeah, we really because as I said at the start, we realized that distribution now is the most important, and I think also we looked at a whole bunch of Y Combinator videos online. That was a perfect school as well. I was always really interested about startups to get some really cool ideas. But I think like founder-led sales has always been really like close to us, where it makes sense because we are international students. We have been all over the world. You know, one of my co-founders is from France, who's also lived in the States and who's moving to Dubai. Me and my other co-founder, we've grown up in Dubai. We're Dutch, Norwegian. He's lived in the States. I've lived in Spain. So we've been all over. We understand like them. When we go into that call, they kind of, you know, they identify with us. They know who we are. So I think that's really, really been super helpful. Also in terms of outbound, I use my personal story in part of my message. I'm never really pitching the product in the first message. I'll start off with something like, hey, I'm an international student. I'm back in Dubai and we're currently building this venture, helping with automating alumni databases. I'd love to get your take on what it is that we're building, and hopefully you'd be able to poke some holes into it. And that would be my actual sales on it, just to get that call. And then I do product first because we've been in so many calls that we've kind of gotten all the different combination of questions that they have. And I've also gone into conversation with a lot of VCs early on, not to fundraise. We're still like bootstrapped, and we want to fundraise at one point, but we just realized it's up to us at this stage to just prove the business model, and then once that business model is there, we can actually scale that.
That resonates with me because I can't recall and give credit to the person who said it, but I read this quote, and I say to every startup founder that I meet, ask for money and you'll receive advice. Ask for advice and you'll receive money.
Yeah, and I got a lot of really good tips from VCs. Like they have such a big database and all the things that have happened, so much experience, that I would just throw my idea out there, and they would say, yeah, but we've invested in a similar vertical in the sports industry and they failed because of this. They failed because of this. And then I would just be writing that down and, well, thank you very much. Or they'd be telling me, what are your outbound strategies? And my very first call, I'm like, well, we haven't really thought of that yet. And he's giving me all these suggestions. And I think that's a really useful tool as well. You can like build those relationships on the side for when it's needed. But I mean, in the end, you know, it's up to us to put that business model there and show that that's something that's worth it. And that marketing part of things is so important. And that's still what we're figuring out now. Just, you know, I didn't have social media for a while. Now I'm kind of back on it just because you have to. You really have to know like what different, you know, you guys talking about like what different creatives are being used. Yeah. And how are these people all of a sudden becoming infinitely more scalable because they're selling to the world. If you don't adopt or have your own strategy digitally, you're constantly constraining yourself to that really small local market.
Yeah. Amazing. Karen, any final remarks, questions or anything?
I mean, I just want you to sell to my school so I can get on some
Fantastic.
find some of the people I went to school with.
Yes,
Nice.
It's so hard to find them where they are, right?
Yeah.
And once they scatter across the globe, even Facebook becomes distant.
It's a shame. I lost some really close friends. Like, we're just not really speaking
We used to be
anymore.
really good buddies when we were in school together, spent 8-9 years. So, of course, when we catch up, maybe right now, it'll just take a few moments to get back to where we were.
Yeah.
But it's just that everybody's busy with their own lives.
Yeah.
So I can see a huge market potential. And
And on
it's
that last note of how we incorporate like artificial intelligence is for the user side, we've actually trained our own model where you can actually ask like, hey, I'm looking for an internship in finance. And it's going to look at your own profile as well as all the profiles in the alumni database and instantly give you suggestions to who you should reach out to. Yeah. So yeah, we're very, very excited. It's a super exciting time to be building because the scene is changing just every month. Yeah. And even us as not super experienced startup founders, we've had small little ventures or side hustles. Yeah. But yeah, it's I'm very excited about the future.
And you're doing it already by like telling your personal story and
Yes.
building your personal brand. But like, because it's quite clear, like just speaking to us, that you already have like people's emotional buy-in because they resonate it. It's like almost got this like, you've got that emotional angle to it. So like really build that into your pitch every single time. Like with Alessio, I think yours is more like logical, isn't it? Because like when you came and pitched, you always had the stats, you know, like 70% return on or like improvement. So it's just two different angles. So you've got the emotional side. But with that being said, guys, that wraps us up here today. Share this like crazy, please, because, you know, from our founders here today, they've taken time out of their weekend to come and pitch. They're doing great work, so they deserve that exposure. Karan, thank you for coming as well. He's taking his time out of his weekend as well, come in and sit down with us, and we want to do many more like this throughout the year. So share it like crazy, please, and we'll keep the content coming.
Amazing.
Guys, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice one.
Thank you, everyone.